At a glance, Air France's La Première may just be a plush seat with a curtain, but I would totally sell myself to the devil just to try it. Sadly, I just can't afford to spend $18,000. But what I can afford is to sit a few rows back in their business class. And given France invented the macaroon and are dead serious about cuisine, this should be a really good flight.
Afternoon, it's Alex from Lift Up and Travel. In today's video, we're travelling with Air France in business class.
If you hadn't already noticed from the massive letters behind me, today's journey starts in San Francisco. Now, Air France is part of SkyTeam. At the beginning of the week, we flew over on Delta One's Suite, which is a phenomenal business product. If you'd like to know why I rate it so highly, I'll post a video on the end of this one. Some flight times are truly god-awful, but luckily for me, Air France Flight 83 departs at 15:05, which works very nicely for my midday checkout from the hotel. What is a surprise is that there's only 2 passengers queuing, and 2 desks open. Very odd. Where's all the passengers?
So that didn't take any time at all, and now it's off to immigration and security.
This took a little bit longer, but was again very pleasant and quiet, taking no more than 5 minutes. This affords me plenty of time to visit Air France's official lounge, which is the left-hand side of the terminal. Even if you have no sense of style, this lounge should wow you. And given it was recently refurbished, the budget was clearly very generous. The first room is essentially a box with chairs, but using different materials, the senses are overwhelmed and it doesn't have that feeling of a bus stop. And having made this mistake before as a rookie, I'll only snack in the lounge, as I plan to enjoy the delights of Air France at 30,000 feet. There are plenty of tasty looking plates, filled with a variety of ham and cheeses, and desserts which must have been arranged by someone with a small amount of OCD, because they are very, very neat. Around the corner is a modern and plush bar area that serves, of course, champagne and wine. It's a lovely place to sit, but I had a slightly strange experience with the lady behind the counter, who, when I went to take a photo of the menu to share with you guys, suddenly reached out and blocked it and said no. Slightly embarrassed and a little bit confused, I retreated to a comfortable seat to enjoy a glass of the Piper 1785 Brut Champagne. I know I said I wasn't going to eat, but I haven't eaten since breakfast, and that little tart looked absolutely divine.
So that was the Air France lounge. Absolutely beautifully designed. I love the food, love the bar, and the atmosphere, tiny bit snobby.
I have to say that the lounge is quite a contrast to the terminal, which is pretty average. It's mostly one long white corridor with giant seating areas, so don't turn up too early because you'll be bored. On the plus side, it's linked to a domestic terminal, which if you like a good walk, it's a nice modern terminal. And there are of course plenty of international flights for you plane spotters.
So while I make a very short walk to the flight, let's have a look at today's journey map.
Just shy of 11 hours, that's more than enough time for a glass of champagne, a sleep, and to experience the French hospitality, touching down to Paris at 10:50 the next morning. Sadly, a concrete wall was blocking views of the plane, and to add to this, there'd been a schedule change from a 777-300, where I'd hoped for a cheap last minute upgrade, to La Première. Unfortunately, 2 days before, it'd been swapped to 777-200. Oh well, it just wasn't meant to be. This also meant I'd been reallocated from row 11 with a view of the wing to row 1. Perhaps this was a way of saying sorry, or just luck. Air France has 3 different configurations for its 777-200, with today's having a high capacity for premium cabins, featuring 40 seats in business class, 24 in premium, and 216 in economy. The main difference being a 3-row more private business class section just after the second door. While all seats have direct aisle access, which is good, this is not the best example of their business class product, with very average privacy. In fact, Air France has at least 4 variants, with the newest having doors. A few months after today's flight, we decided to revisit Air France's business class, flying from Bogota, Colombia, on board Air France's A380, which again is the older variety, but if you can snag a window seat as opposed to aisle, it's a huge upgrade privacy-wise, and we'd happily fly again. Anyway, enough chit chat from me, so while you watch Air France's very chic safety video, I'm going to enjoy a glass of champagne, which was crisp and dry with a little kick to it.
For your safety and comfort,
Please take a moment to watch the following safety video. Whenever the seatbelt sign is on, please make sure your seatbelt is securely fastened.
There are certain routes in the world where, depending which side of the plane you've picked to sit, can lead to disappointment. And luckily today was not one of them, as fellow passengers on the left hand side of the plane were treated to a downtown view of San Francisco. Air France's Boeing 777-200s utilised the Saffron Cirrus 2 design seat, which have a width of 20 inches and when loaded into the flat mode vary between 6 and 7 feet in length. The in-flight entertainment screen is reasonably sized at 16 inches, and for an airline whose first native language is French, I was quite impressed by the variety of content that was available. Where they didn't quite excel as much as other airlines was the TV shows, although it wasn't in any way a bad collection. There were at least 3 box sets that I was more than happy to watch, including The White Lotus, which I binge watched on thin air. But then again, I'm a big fan of Jennifer Coolidge.
Do you speak English?
no.
For those following this new and pretty stupid trend of raw dogging the flight, there's a moving map, and for the rest of humanity, you can choose content based on your preferred language. To the left hand side is a small cubby hole, with a door and a mirror, and inside is bright and vibrant in Air France red. This is where you can find your over-the-ear headphones. They're pretty solid when it came to sound and noise cancelling, but because they sit on the ear and not over it, they did become uncomfortable after about 4 hours of use. As for the all-important footwell, it's pretty good, because the left-hand side is unrestricted, a foolish mistake that other airlines make, which easily loses an inch or 2. Other than that, there's a universal plug socket and a USB-A outlet, just below the side table. Besides a never-ending supply of alcohol, the black pillow is quite plush. And Air France have a matching dark blanket that was warm, although it could have been a little bit wider. Which brings us to the amenity kit, which is rather nice, with a woven texture, dark blue zip and the Air France logo. There's nothing particularly surprising about the contents inside, featuring a beauty balm, a matte gel and a toothpaste for sensitive gums from Clarins of Paris. The pen though is an unusual item and pretty handy for filling out those long-winded immigration forms. The meal service starts off with this amuse-bouche of pan-fried tuna. How pretty. Mild turbulence and a glass of fused tea intense peach, which was extremely delicious but the word intense seems a little bit dramatic. Showcasing the best of France was an unexpected box that I won't attempt to pronounce. It was essentially cheese biscuits, and they were so good I ate every last crumb. The cabin crew, who were absolutely delightful, have then offered me a second drink, recommending the 2019 Chardonnay. The menu is simple in design, but less is more, and it's really quite elegant. Here's a copy of the menu that was available on board, with Air France giving the option to pre-order your choice of meal prior to the flight, which is good for the environment. Losing myself in Disney's 2013 Wreck-It Ralph movie, my starter has arrived, consisting of a simple but fresh bowl of salad, a choice of bread with a good looking butter, and a second salad because one is not enough. And this is followed by some juicy large prawns with asparagus and, yes, more salad. I am though feeling pretty healthy. Having eaten far more salad than I knew ever existed, I then decided now would be a good time to visit the onboard bathroom.
This may just be the strangest layout I've ever seen on a 777.
And that's because usually the bathrooms are on the side of the plane, but in this case they've used a massive space at the front, with the door aiming towards the cockpit. This does mean though that it's accessible, which is a big plus, with plenty of room inside. This isn't the best looking meal in the world, but the fillet of chicken in Chablis sauce was extremely delicious and a nice cut of meat. And with the sun setting and the night sky appearing, we're just over North Dakota, and I'm offered a beautiful collection of different cheeses. Now being British, I'm wondering where the crackers are.
Oh, have a cracker, pretty boy.
According to Google, the reason why the French don't put crackers with their cheese is because it diminishes the taste, and to be honest, I'm inclined to agree. What doesn't require crackers and is just perfect the way it was is the chocolate opera cake, which is a French classic dating back to 1955. The beauty of this meal, and this is the sign of a good chef, is that there was certainly more than enough food, so with the lights lowered, I'm going to attempt to get in a few hours sleep. The sign of a good sleep is either when you wake up confused from the lights being on, or you've realised you've dreamt about something that wasn't the plane. Either way, with a dry mouth because the humidity on a Boeing 777 is not great, there's an abundance of different drinks in the galley. And after a quick visit to the bathroom and discovering even more amenities, it's time for the breakfast service. I often discuss with Brent how bored I am receiving an English breakfast, but this is a Basque omelette with potato croquettes. That comes with breakfast pastries and a plain thick yoghurt, which at first glance looks pretty boring, but it comes with a pack of superfruit cereal. What do you guys think? Flights of 11 hours I find are challenging, because you want to eat, but by the time you take off, land and try out the food, that usually leaves you with less than 6 hours. And in honesty, I wish I'd slept more because I have a 4-hour layover and a connecting flight.
So as for today's flight, it's always a pleasure to fly business class. There was a few things which did take me as a surprise. The first was the blanket. It's not quite long enough. At first when you get on it does feel really cold because it's quite thin, but to be fair actually it does warm me up really quickly. The second being the cheese platter. Nice selection. Two of them were a little bit tasteless, but that might just be because it's in the air. I'm always a bit indifferent about this one because I know when you're not flying from the hub, the food is not necessarily as good. So if you're flying from Paris to San Francisco, it's probably going to be better than the other way around. Overall though, had a great time. The cabin crew were really nice, really friendly, and I'd love to try them again in a different product. Thanks for watching.